sit back and relax. You're listening to the WealthTech Today podcast. I'm your host, Craig Iskowitz, founder of Ezra Group Consulting. And this podcast features interviews, news, and analysis on the trends and best practices all around wealth management technology. My guest for this episode was Dr. Kelly Wagman, Director of AI Business Enablement at Cresset. And we spoke about Cresset's hybrid AI strategy, their AI rollout and adoption, some best practices Kelly shared there, AI use cases and challenges, and integrating AI with legacy systems. And speaking of integrating AI with legacy systems, what's in your tech stack? How many legacy systems do you have? More than 20? More than 50? However many you have, you need a strategy for managing them, integrating them, and delivering a world-class experience for both advisors and clients. Ezra Group can help turn your tech stack chaos into a competitive advantage. Our 60-day tech stack reboot is designed specifically for RIAs looking to take the first step in gaining control over their tech infrastructure without breaking the bank to do it. If you want to free your firm for exponential growth, you need to run, not walk to our website, ezragroup.com, and click the golden Contact Us button on the homepage. Whether you're struggling to scale your business or wondering why your advisor's adoption of your core applications is so low, the experienced team at Ezra Group will help you design, optimize, and future-proof your infrastructure. We know what works and what doesn't. All right, a couple quick housekeeping chores. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our sponsor, the Invest in Others Charitable Foundation at investinothers.org. And if you are a software vendor, head to our website and our vendor portal, ezragroup.com/register to register your product with our WealthTech Integration Score team. And now, let's kick this thing off. All right, I'm excited to introduce our next guest. It is Dr. Kelly Wagman, Director of AI Business Enablement at Cresset. Kelly, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great for you to be here. And where are you in the world making this recording?
I live in Chicago and I work out of Cresset Chicago office.
And this is a great time to be in Chicago. It's just the weather's beautiful there.
If you consider snow beautiful, then we have a lot of it.
Snow, sleet, wind. Yep, it's all beautiful. It's
Mhm.
just the cost of being in such a fantastic city as Chicago. You got to put up with the weather.
Yes, that's true.
Well, I'm here in New Jersey, and I'm not jealous of anything you have out there because we got the same. But here we're going to be talking about a lot of other things, a lot of technology, a lot of AI. But before we jump into that, could you please start us off with a 30-second elevator pitch for Cresset?
Sure. So Cresset is a multifamily office. We have over 200 billion in assets under advisory. We offer investment advisory services as well as a number of family office services such as tax preparation, bill pay, and other types of family office services.
Awesome. So we're going to jump right into AI as we kind of have to do for every podcast, but especially with you in your role. So we talk a lot of companies about AI strategy, and one of the things we see is struggling with execution and getting value out of their AI. So what has worked at Crescent and what hasn't?
I think in terms of execution, it's helpful to think of a combination of a centralized and decentralized approach. So we have a centralized AI team where we're working on some core things like launching LLM. We use ChatGPT, note-taking types of things that kind of run across the entire firm and that support everyone, as well as having an AI champions program that is decentralized because those folks are experts in their own areas and they can help surface use cases and then work with us to understand the best way to approach those use cases.
That's excellent. I mean, even with a firm of your size, how many people do you have at Crescent?
We have over 500.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent sized firm, and being able to afford to bring in someone of your capabilities as the director of AI business enablement is a luxury a lot of firms don't have. So, how do you, in your role, push for innovation, but still putting guardrails around it and making sure you're compliant?
Sure. I think that we really want to get people experimenting and trying things and trying to understand what's going to work really well and pilot things. But of course, we want to do it safely and securely. So When we launched our enterprise ChatGPT instance, for example, we provided a mandatory training that everyone has to do. We also are kind of continually providing education about the types of things you can do, the types of things you're not allowed to do. Um, but then I think we really hope that people will try out things within those kinds of guardrails and try to understand, what is going to work best for them. We don't we don't want to put so much limitation on people that they don't actually get the benefit from it.
I wanted to go back to the previous question. You mentioned you have two areas for AI. One is a centralized AI group, and one is the AI champions. How do you select the AI champions, and how much leeway do they have in picking software?
So the champions, we have kind of one point person per business area. And they were selected both because they were excited about AI. They didn't have to have a background. They just had to have an interest in experimenting and a curiosity about it. And they also had to really understand their business area so that they could help us prioritize use
Mm.
cases. Because I think while we do want everybody trying things, if everybody at the firm came to us and said, "What about this thing?" I don't know enough about each individual business area to know how to help prioritize. So
Mm.
they're really key in that. Um, and then they definitely have a lot of leeway to figure out what those use cases are and suggest different types of software or suggest ways that we go about it. But they certainly partner with me and with the folks on the tech team to understand, is there a software that's already available that could do that? And then any type of software has to go through our diligence process to ensure that it's safe and secure to use.
How many people are in the centralized AI team?
So there's me, and then we've got two other dedicated AI people. Um, One person also working on AI enablement, and then we recently hired an AI software engineer.
Nice. What was driving your need to have your own AI software engineer?
I think there's just enough now that can be done through development, building out kind of agentic workflows, hooking into MCP servers, coding, accessing LLMs through a coding interface that which it's been really helpful to have him join the team.
Mm. Terrific. And now you've rolled out AI tools to all 500 employees. So, what steps would you do if you have best practices you can share with other companies to make that rollout easy and to get people to actually use the software?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to really think about what you want the policy around it to be and how to communicate that policy. So, like I mentioned, before anybody was allowed to use the tooling, they had to go through this mandatory video training as well as a policy attestation to make sure they understood kind of what the limitations were. Um, and then I just think education is so important. You have to meet people kind of where they are, and we've tried to provide many different formats of education. And I think the reason for that is I really liked I was at Schwab Impact, and there was a panel where somebody said giving people access to an LLM is like giving them a gym membership, but it doesn't mean they're going to get fit.
Right.
So we do weekly lunch and learns with the whole company. I've done in-person trainings with our advisors in our offices kind of all over the country. We provide suggested prompts in various types of email communications. We want people to kind of understand how it can really be useful for them and then get them to experiment on their own.
That's terrific. I love that. I love hearing that because I think a lot of firms don't do that. They feel like, well, we'll give them a couple days of training, a couple hours of training, and then we're done. And then
And
they
then I
wonder,
think sharing that information too with between peers. So we've also tried to develop channels where we celebrate if someone produces a really cool prompt or a really cool GPT. And then we have set up internal kind of messaging channels so that people can share them with each other. And it's not that everything has to come from us.
even better. Yeah, that encourages more communication, more interaction with people, and it sort of bubbles up and maintains its own. You get in the flywheel moving.
Exactly. Exactly.
Do you have any ways to measure your AI adoption that to verify that it's really broad and meaningful versus just, service level experimentation?
I guess it's my belief that experimentation leads to meaningful use. So I'm actually not upset
Mm,
if people are just experimenting, because I think that that's the
mm.
first step. Right now, we can certainly measure our usage of the tools just through the metrics that the tools collect, and I think that's one way to see. So I know that most people in the firm are using it, which is great. Um, I think the next step, and I've heard people talk about 2026 as the year of ROI, where we really want to start tying more specific use cases to ROI metrics. And I think that that is a little bit more challenging to measure, but I think very important to figure out and to keep measuring and to keep coming back to.
So which of your AI use cases have delivered the most value so far for advisors?
The ones that we've really gotten going now, I think, are things like note taking, I think is really valuable. That really meaningfully saves people time. And then there's a number of things that you can just do with the large language models, such as extracting data from PDF so that people aren't manually copying out numbers, summarizing really large documents, being able to do more comprehensive research reports that you might not have had time to do. Um, I just think that there's a number of kind of general purpose use cases, and we're also kind of starting to work through and prioritize how to invest in more narrow but high value use cases.
I saw a cartoon and it showed two people in different offices. One person was saying, "Look how great AI is! I can summarize this long document into just some bullets and send the email." The other person was saying, "Isn't AI great? I can take these couple bullets and extract them into a long document." Like, so do you see that all this extraction and summarization and review is going to be just AI talking to AI?
That might be to some extent. I guess the way I kind of think about it is everybody probably wants, well, different groups of people want different things out of particular documents. So um, if you imagine that a document contains some amount of information, maybe person A wants this half of the information and person B wants the other half of the information. So I think what AI can do is kind of pull out those different pieces and then allow me to just ask for the type of information that I want from the document and then getting it back instead of having for me to kind of go ingest the whole document myself and kind of manually figure out which pieces are important to me. It can just kind of speed up that process of synthesizing and returning the useful information for a particular audience.
Hmm. I kind of feel that the prompting, I have a degree in computer science, so for me, prompting is great. So like, I love doing that. I can sit there for hours and just, tweak and tweak and tweak, but it's not for everyone. And I feel advisors don't really want to be prompt engineers. They just want to get their job done and service their clients. So how do we find a balance between prompting and getting applications that are just building it for us?
hmm So within ChatGPT, you can build something called custom GPTs, which is basically a way of encapsulating quite a long prompt into something where someone can interact then with that kind of chatbot without having to see that prompt. So we can create GPTs that do particular types of data document extraction, or we have one where someone on our HR team kind of pulled together all the HR documents that were relevant for a particular topic, and then created ones so you could just ask questions without having to dig through those documents. And so I think that's been a really helpful way of being able to give people kind of a productized experience where they get the value out of it, but they don't actually have to go in and write the prompts themselves.
That's excellent. Do you experiment with all the different LLMs, at least the top four? So ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. Which ones do you allow people to use, and what do you think is the strongest?
So we do experiment with all of them, or I personally experiment with all of them. It's important that for any kind of Cresset work, we use our enterprise ChatGPT because it's totally secure. All of our data is totally secure. We don't allow people to use non-approved AI tools just because the risk of the data getting out is so high. Um, and I think that it feels like it goes in a circle, every couple months, the other
Mm.
one is better. So we
They keep
made
leapfrogging each other.
For our purposes at this point in time, we're very happy with what we've selected, but we'll see how they evolve. I know Gemini just had a big release and Sam Altman declared code red and we'll see what comes of that.
That is true. So we talked about what is working for you guys on AI, but let's talk flip it. What's not working, and what lessons can you share from other firms about how you recover from things that don't work?
Yeah, when I think about things not working, I mean, one big thing is that, of course, the large language models still have a hallucination problem. I do think it's gotten better over time, but you can't, at this point, trust that anything is 100% accurate. So, one of the policies we have is a very strong human in the loop requirement where anything that comes out of an LLM the human is ultimately responsible, and you must go through and double check that the data coming out of it is accurate before you send it off to anyone. I hope that that continues to get better and we get to a point where you can really rely on them without doing a ton of checking, but I think that's still a limitation for right now.
Indeed. So do you have any examples of mistakes you've made with AI that you could share and how you recovered?
Hmm. Mistakes we've
Hard to
made.
think of mistakes that we make. We don't make mistakes at Cresset. Everything is always perfect. If
Um,
you can't think of any, it's okay.
I mean, I can think of, I don't think we've made any mistakes that have we've sent to like clients or anything like
Mm,
that, you know.
good.
Certainly that yeah, when I'm using it in my day-to-day, I noticed that, I was trying to look up something in a PowerPoint and
Mm,
I asked it to cite the page number that it found the thing
mm.
from, and it just made up the page number completely. But I was checking it,
Right.
so I caught
That's not
that.
a mistake you made, right? That's a mistake the LLM made. I saw something similar. I mean, we also use it for some writing, and I wanted to see how it can write an article. I said, write an article about next best actions for advisors and cite some articles in support of this particular line of thinking. And it cited an article written by myself and Michael Keatsis that didn't exist. Like it just made up an article. Like that'd be a cool article to write, but we didn't write that one. So yeah, you've got
Yeah.
to be very careful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I mean, we're doing a lot of internal kind of testing and piloting of things. And
Mm,
we're very cautious about releasing anything to clients before we're really sure that it's ready.
absolutely. So here's an interesting question. If you had to cut Cresset's AI budget in half tomorrow, what would you keep and what would you kill off immediately?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think it's a hard question because we are spending some of that budget, like I was saying, on kind of piloting and experimenting with things. And some of those things are not going to work out, but I don't know which ones are going to work and which ones are not going to work yet.
Yeah, it's like my marketing budget, everyone's marketing budget, only half of it's effective, but we don't know which half.
Exactly, exactly. So probably I would double down on the things that we know work and kind of just keep going with that. But I think that
Mm.
that would not be the right move because I think at this point we really do need to be testing and learning.
Mhm. So you talked about rolling things out to clients. So how do you see AI improving client conversations and improving the advisor-client relationships without replacing advisors?
Yeah, we really have no interest in replacing advisors. I mean, I think advisors are so central that human relationship, the trust that is built is the core of our whole business. And I think that AI can really benefit clients because I think of it kind of in two levels. One is it can take off mundane tasks from the advisor's plate so that they just have more time to spend, working directly with the clients, which I think is a huge win. And the other one is I think AI allows you to do more personalized work because you can do it faster. So things like the deep research capability, looking into topics that particular clients might be really excited about might just not have been something that they had bandwidth for before, but maybe now they do. And so we can kind of help provide even more tailored and personalized um, research and input into what they're interested in. I think you're on mute.
You're right. I was coughing. See, so I really want to talk about you, Kelly, and a little bit about your background. You have a very interesting career path. So you spent some time at Microsoft as a researcher, and you recently got your PhD at the University of Chicago. Congratulations. I know
Thank
that's
you.
not an easy thing to do. And you just started at Crescent 6 months ago. So you're sort of drinking from the fire hose. So how does your time at Microsoft and your previous experience and then your PhD help you get into this role and hit the ground running?
So I think being at Microsoft really taught me how to build enterprise scale software. So I was in the research group, but before that, I was a software engineer on a product team. And so I think there's just so many things to think about when you're building enterprise grade software that was a really good foundation. And then in the research world, I've been thinking about AI for a really long time. When I was at Microsoft Research, people were already really excited about it. And this was pre-large language models. So I feel like I've been convinced that AI is going to have a huge impact for years and years. Um, and just getting to kind of be early to how people were thinking about it. Microsoft also had a huge focus on the kind of the socio-technical, the governance, the ethics side of it. And I think that was really helpful early exposure. Um, and then in the PhD, I spent a lot of time thinking about how organizations adapt to technology. And I actually worked with an organization that was rolling out internal large language model for the first time. And so I think I got great exposure not only to the technical foundations, but the organizational change and kind of adoption and how that works. And so I feel very passionate both about making sure we have great tech and that our technical systems and infrastructure is set up really well. But I really love the kind of change management part, and I love teaching people. Um, and I get really excited about that too. So.
That's great. I just noticed in your resume you had done work on C Sharp at Microsoft, and that was the first object-oriented programming that I did in like 1991.
Amazing,
C Sharp. I'm
amazing.
like, ooh, C Sharp programmer. We can chat. We can talk about stuff. But not in this podcast. That's a different podcast.
It's a
Um,
great language.
it's a great language, right? But I don't think anybody wants to hear us geek out on that level. But if you looked out 2 to 3 years, again, from your position with what you've done so far, what does how will firms be using AI? And again, it's moving so quickly, it's hard to know. But what are some of the things you would guess how AI enable wealth enterprise based on what you know in the last 6 months?
I think that there will be more tasks that are kind of automated. I don't see whole jobs being automated, but I hope that we can automate some of the kind of more mundane tasks that are just kind of moving information around to different places. And I think that the way that that will work to be successful is first, I think organizations really need to build up the muscle on how to work with these types of tools. So I tell people that working with a large language model is kind of like having an alien intern because it doesn't think like a human, and you really have to it's helping you, but you have to kind of coach it through whatever it is that it's doing. And I think that that muscle on how to interact with this new type of technology is something that people just have to practice, and we have to build up kind of organizational skill sets in. Um, I
Mhm.
also think once people have kind of their data organized, there's just so much that can be done with, synthesizing and building really cool applications on top of organized data that will help advisors and will help back office and different parts of the organization.
There's something in your resume I thought was interesting that when you were at MIT as a graduate researcher, you worked on AI human computer interactions. And that reminded me of, remember the movie I, Robot with Will Smith,
Hmm.
right? And when he's talking to the woman whose name I'm blanking on, who plays the scientist, and she says, "I specialize in hardware to wetware interfaces to advance the anthropomorphization program." He goes, "What?" She goes, "I make the robots seem more human." Like, why couldn't you
Yeah,
just say that?
yeah,
So,
exactly.
right. So how do you see that research helping um, people at Cresset and people in wealth management in general you interact with AI better, more efficiently?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually wrote a whole paper arguing basically that we should not make robots or AI seem too human because people
Hmm.
actually get confused. That's why I tell people it's like an
Yeah.
alien,
Hmm.
because So one part of the research that I think is really relevant is you know realize that people have mental models for the things that they interact with, and then they
Mhm.
a lot of their interaction is based on their mental model. And so you have to give people kind of the correct mental model so that they can make assumptions based on that. And I think most people, for them, just like explaining how a transformer works is not going to be helpful. But if you say something like alien intern, all of a sudden you're conveying this thing is not a human.
Mhm.
Here's the type of
Right.
interaction it expects. So I think it's been really, really, really helpful to have that background because I guess I just never assume that if I come up with some brilliant technology, people are going to love it and want to use it. I
Mhm.
think you really have to understand that people are experts in their own workflows. You have to then understand those workflows and you have to understand how the technology is going to fit into them. And that's what makes for a great human computer interaction experience.
Mhm.
And so I just, yeah, that's something that I feel very
Mhm.
passionate about. I'm not here to kind of sledgehammer my technical
Right.
view of the world into somebody else's worldview.
I get it. I mean, everyone works differently. Everyone has different ways of interacting with any software that they're using. And one thing we always push, well, we have a whole software adoption practice at Ezra Group because so many firms think, well, we bought the CRM, we're done, right? We don't need
Right.
to do anything more. We gave everyone a week of training. Why isn't it working?
Yeah.
Because everyone doesn't work that way. Everyone doesn't learn the same way. And it's an endless process of communicating to people. We have these tools for you. Here's how you use them. And some people want to see it done. Some people want to do it on their own. Some people want to read about it. Some people want to
Mhm.
mix, right? So some people need every, constant reminders. Some people don't, right? So everyone's different. You need to be able to have all those different channels of communication and training and energy to help people along the path to using the software.
Yeah. No, exactly. Exactly.
All right, so we're almost out of time, but what are some, if we're talking about integrating AI tools into an existing tech stack? So you have legacy software, right? As every company does, especially one
Mhm.
that's been around as long as Cresset and as large as Cresset. How do you take these brand new tools and integrate them into these legacy systems without causing problems?
I think a huge part of it is figuring out how to integrate the data coming from those systems, is one layer where you want advisors to be able to just ask questions about their clients without having to worry which system is that data housed in. Um, they should just be thinking about it from the client as a whole, not, this piece of this client's life that lives here. And then, I mean, I think we'll see as kind of various types of AI hooks get built into these systems and we start to think about more agentic workflows. I think that's where, for example, having a software engineer is really helpful because you could think about more advanced use cases where not only are you synthesizing and retrieving information, you're actually going in and maybe filling out forms or doing something in the system. So I think that so far it feels like many of our systems kind of have those hooks or they're going to be built in, but it will be harder and harder to work with software that you kind of can't access in that way.
I was on a panel that was called How to Introduce AI into Your Firm. And one of the things I started off by saying is you've already got AI in your firm. Every one of your vendors of software is already building AI tools and they're just slipping them into your systems without you even knowing about it, or they're all press releasing it as well. But so every single application you have is going to have some form of AI, which could be confusing.
Yes. Could be confusing and actually could be kind of problematic. Like I said, we're very careful about our data. And so, you have to go back and make sure that as companies are doing that, that the data security part is still really strong. But yeah, but in some ways it's also great. I mean, if a vendor solves a problem that we wanted to have solved and they've already done it, that's
Mhm.
fantastic. Then we don't have to build it.
That's the name of the game, right? That's their business. They're in the software business, and you're in the multifamily office business. So let them do their thing, and you do your thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Kelly, we're out of time. I really appreciate you being here. Where can people find out more information about Cresset?
You can go to our website at cressetcapital.com and everything is there.
Excellent, Kelly. Thanks so much, and enjoy the holidays.
Thanks, Craig, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, it's Craig again. Here are my top three takeaways from this episode. Number one, Cresset has a centralized AI team as well as an AI champions program where subject matter experts in each business area help identify and prioritize AI use cases. I love this idea. This hybrid approach helps drive AI adoption across the firm. This relates to, reminding me a lot of things we do at Ezra Group around champions in different other applications, whether it's CRM, portfolio management. We do all those types of things as well. It's great for AI. Number two, Crescent requires mandatory training and education for all 500 employees on how to use AI tools like ChatGPT. This includes weekly lunch and learns and internal messaging channels to share best practices. This helps ensure broad and meaningful AI adoption, not just random experimentation. And while Crescent is cautious about using AI for client-facing work due to the risk of inaccuracies, they see significant value in using AI to automate admin tasks, enhance research capabilities, and free up advisors to spend more time with their clients. The goal is to augment them, not replace them. All right. Thanks for listening. You've reached the end of another episode of the WealthTech Today podcast. But before we go, head to our website, ezragroup.com, and scroll to the bottom of the homepage and sign up for our newsletter. Once a month, you'll receive an email chock full of wealth management goodness, news, information, and updates. You won't be disappointed. Thanks again for listening, and talk to you all again next time.